Gimbals are so accessible right now. Everybody seems to be getting one, like it's hip or something. But although gimbals are really good for getting a smooth shot, you kind of need to know a little bit of background about what you're using. So today, I thought we'd talk about balancing a gimbal. New toy! I am beyond thrilled to finally have received my Ronin-S. I'm pretty sure I squealed like a pterodactyl when I saw the box. Whatever noise that was, it wasn't human. So the sort of tutorial we're going into today will be with the Ronin-S, but don't worry, if you don't have the Ronin-S, it will still be helpful to you no matter what gimbal you use, as the terminology is almost always the same and the method is very similar. Let's get into it. But before we get started, we're going to have to learn a few basic terminologies about gimbals. That is your pitch, your roll, and your yaw. They're basically your axes. Next, we have to have a think about our camera itself. We need to think about the weight, the shape, the size, anything that'll give us a hint as to what the gimbal is going to do as soon as we put the camera on, how it's going to react, and where we need to place our slide plate. In mirrorless cameras, in most cases, the lens is a little bit heavier than the camera, but in this case, I'm using an old Plastic Fantastic Canon lens, so my lens is actually pretty much lighter than the camera itself. Still, I'd highly recommend sliding your base plate as forward as you can underneath the lens, and then you've got the most range of motion. If you do have a zoom lens that extends, I would highly recommend setting it to mid-range. So for instance, if you're shooting on a 24-70, you'd be setting that at around 30-40, and that way if you do decide to go wider or tighter, your motors aren't going to have to compensate as much. Also, make sure all accessories that you need for shooting are already attached to the camera before you place it on the gimbal, and that way you've got a final setup for your camera and you're compensating for the correct weight. Okay, now that our camera is ready and the slide plate is on and all accessories are on there, battery, card, lens cap is off, everything's good to go, we can start to have a look at our gimbal. Now, it is recommended that you place your gimbal on a flat and stable surface. Most gimbals come with some sort of stand or apparatus to put it on while you're balancing and while you're resting. The Ronin comes with a handle extension that extends out into a tripod, and you can place that down on any safe flat surface. And then while we're balancing the gimbal, remember to keep one hand on the head at all times so your camera isn't flopping about and damaging itself and your gimbal isn't going to topple over to the floor. Okay, so now we can attach the camera to the gimbal. With the Ronin-S, all we have to do is slide the camera on backwards. So we'll just slide it in there. Now the point of this first exercise is to make it so that the camera doesn't fall either direction. This is the first step of the pitch motor. So what we'll have to do is make very minor adjustments until the camera doesn't slide either way. Because the camera is unlocked, I'm going to keep a hand on the camera and the base plate itself. I'm going to replace one hand here so that I'm holding the roll axis, because we haven't balanced that one yet, and we're just going to adjust very slightly until we can kind of feel that it's not going to fall in either direction. So I'm just going to lock it off there and have a look, and that seems pretty good. So I could feel if it was going to fall in either direction. I've locked it off and now the camera is safe. But as you can see, I still need to keep a hold of the gimbal, otherwise the camera is going to move around everywhere. Next up, we need to look at the first step of the roll axis, which is this slide here, which we can unlock at the back here with this latch. With most cameras, I've found that the camera needs to be as far to the pitch motor as possible, so we'll just take that as far as we can towards that pitch motor. That's as far as we can go there, and then we'll just lock that off. Next step is finalizing the pitch motor. So we'll keep a hold of the roll axes, and we're just going to point the camera up. So as you can see, it's quite front heavy on that pitch motor. So we're going to unlatch that, and we're going to slide the arm up a little bit while the camera is facing upwards. And just work out again roughly where we should put it so that the camera isn't rolling in either direction. And it's just minor adjustments until you find that right spot. And that seems about right. So now we'll lock off that pitch motor, and that should be completely balanced. So just double check everything, make sure it's holding. You should know you've done a good job if the camera holds in position, and as you can see, our first adjustment of the pitch on that slide plate may have changed. That's perfectly normal. All you have to do is go back to here, unlock that, and make your minor adjustment to get it back on track. So now in any direction that you place the camera, it should pretty much hold. We still haven't fixed that roll axis, so still keep your hand on that gimbal. So now what I'd recommend is we have a look at that roll axis. So let's go around to the back here. We need to make sure that this sits horizontally and doesn't rock in either direction. So let's just undo that latch there. And we know it's rolling towards the left, so we're going to push it towards the right. And that seems about right there. So we'll just lock that one off there. Now it's safe to take your hand off the gimbal because we've balanced most of our axes and it's not going to flip-flop. So if you want to check over your work, all you have to do is position the camera in any which direction and it should hold for the most part. So lastly, you have to fix up the yaw motor, which is this one here. So the easiest way to have a look at the yaw motor is to rotate the gimbal so that you can flip it down just a little bit on an angle, and then you should see that it seems to be going vertically away from us. What we want to do, and the aim of the game, is to get that axis horizontal to us, so it isn't moving around in either direction. So what we'll do is we'll hold on to that motor there, we will unlatch, and we're just going to slide it back, being very careful. And just adjusting ever so slightly until the camera doesn't move in either direction. There we go. And then we just latch that off. And that's it. That's our final step there. So we have a completely balanced gimbal. Now that the gimbal is balanced, we can turn it on. So there you go. As you can see, it's quite a simple thing to master. Once you get the hang of it, you should be totally sweet in doing this in seconds. But maybe don't take seconds. Take your time. Take your time, make sure it's safe. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to see more of my face and learn a little bit more about filmmaking and the process, remember to subscribe, and I'll see you next Sunday. The camera's too far away and I can't cover the lens like I usually do. See you later.